Good morning, everybody. My name is Shreya Shah. I'll be presenting a case study on sustainability in affordable housing development. A little bit about myself. I have a background in civil engineering. Oops. I have a background in civil engineering and real estate development, and I've been working as an affordable housing developer since the past 3 years. Overall, I've always tried to merge sustainability in the work I do. Everybody knows buildings consume a lot of energy and they create a lot of impact to the environment. So that's something that I've always tried to do. As part of my earlier research, I tried to find out what's happening in the field of sustainability and development. And I was surprised there was not a lot of data. So what I decided was, as part of my capstone project, I will look at a project that I'm working on and try to basically document all the decisions that I've made and look at it through the lens of sustainability. So I'll first talk about what is sustainable affordable housing. Then I'll introduce you to my case study. After that, I'll talk about some challenges and some solutions. Then I'll talk about impact, conclusion, and then there'll be time for questions and answers. So what is affordable housing? The general rule of thumb is that if somebody pays 30% of their income towards their housing expenses, that's considered affordable. That way, the household will have 70% of their income left towards other living expenses. The biggest challenge in making affordable housing development work is that people who are making below a certain income level can only afford to pay a certain amount of rent. Typically, affordable housing projects are made for people who are at or below 60% of area median income. So they can pay 60% below market rate for rents. And suddenly, you have this very fixed amount of income coming in, but you have to pay for all these operating expenses, which includes heat, hot water, electricity, insurance, taxes, management, maintenance, all of these things. And once you start giving out that money, there's not a lot left for cash flow. And you always want your cash flow to be positive. So this got my wheels turning, and everybody in the industry is basically talking. If you can find a way to reduce your heat, hot water, electricity cost, you suddenly can make a project work much better. And that's what basically led to my practicum project, and that's why I think sustainability in affordable housing makes perfect sense. So according to me, what sustainable affordable housing is a building that creates minimal impact to the environment, fulfills a huge gap in the community for the need of housing, creates equitable jobs, and also remains financially sustainable and affordable for a long period of time. With that, I'll get into my project. This project is located in the town of Hampton Falls, New Hampshire. It is a very small town in Seacoast, New Hampshire, with a population of about just 2,000 people. The site that I'm planning to develop on is a 56-acre parcel of land. It's huge. We are going to develop it in phases, but right now, I'm only going to talk about the first phase. The first phase of this project is going to be 24 units of senior affordable housing. One of the challenges with this site was it is not really close to anything, but it is still close to things like relatively. It is a mile away from the town center, which I think is close enough for Seacoast, New Hampshire. And in order to really minimize our carbon footprint, what we decided to do was bring in transportation services. There's no public transportation at this location. So what we partnered with a couple of companies, local companies, that will come in, have a bus, take our residents to market stores, groceries, pharmacies, and medical appointments twice a week. So that will help reduce some of the carbon footprint. Now, why senior affordable housing? A lot of people know that there's a strong need for senior housing, like in the state of New Hampshire. Between 2010 and 2025, the population of seniors is going to double. And seniors typically make less income than the state's median income. So that qualifies them for affordable housing. What also happens is that when people grow older, they want to downsize and live in a smaller space, and so that they can manage their house very easily. And there's not a lot of options for rental housing or apartments in New Hampshire. It's just very rural in character. So that really justified that, okay, we will develop senior housing. One of the things we looked at was there's a project in the town of Hampton which caters to a similar population, and the wait list is 7 years long. So that really triggered and made us really sure that, okay, senior affordable housing is the way to go. Raise your hand if you've seen an affordable housing project ever in your life. Okay. And raise your hand if this looks like one. Okay, thank you. So basically, what we try to do is not make them look like projects. They are people's homes, and they need to look like people's homes. It has to be in character with the neighborhood. It has to blend into the town that it is in. And this project is unique because it is located on a large parcel of land, and so we have a lot of land to spare. So what we decided to do was create trails. So we are going to create trails as part of the project, which will be open for people in the community. They can come in, walk around, and there'll be an automatic blend between the new residents, which may be from outside of Hampton Falls, and the people there. So a lot of collaboration happens in that process. The biggest challenge with this project was it is in a very rural location. The site is full of wetlands, and we did not want to impact any wetlands. And so suddenly, we were pushed in a corner, and there was only one parcel or one small area of this large parcel where we could put the buildings. And so we have to build a super long road that goes in. Also, there's no town water, there's no town sewer, so we're building our own well, our own septic system. All of these things cost money, and typical projects pay about 10% of their construction budget towards infrastructure, and this project is paying 30%. So suddenly, like, my dreams of having a net zero building with solar panels and with, super awesome things was like, okay, that's not realistic anymore, we can't do it. But I tried to say, okay, we'll just look at options and we'll figure it out from there. So my approach was, everybody has heard this, do what you can with what you have where you are, and that's what I did and started to run with that. And what I found was, it's not that hard. You can make it happen, and basically, you just have to look at enough options to figure out what is the best value of the dollar for you. So we started with looking at different standards. Some of these may be familiar to a lot of people. LEED, Energy Star, Enterprise, Passive House, Net Zero, Living Building Challenge, all of these are different standards and certificates that you can get to prove that your building is super sustainable. Energy Star is one of the unique programs, and the bar of efficiency is pretty low, but the state of New Hampshire really encourages it, and so we decided that, okay, that's a no-brainer, we're definitely doing that. And then Passive House is one of the new things. It's basically a standard which makes sure that your building creates no impact to the environment by using really a minimal amount of energy. What happens is, with all these certificates, you have to spend a certain amount of money to actually get the piece of paper, and that's what we call the plaque on the wall. And we decided we don't want the plaque on the wall, we're just going to try and aim and get the maximum amount of efficiency stuff inside the building without actually getting the certificate. So that's the direction we headed in. So now I'll get into the details. The first thing that I discovered in my journey was your dollars are best spent in making your building super tight. So if you have a very tight envelope, think about it. There's very little energy suddenly required to heat or cool your space, and that's what we decided to do. So our envelope is made with zip systems. It's a very, very good system, and then on the interior, we have a lot of insulation as well. We're using really good windows from a local manufacturer. They're very comparable to triple glazed windows, if anybody knows what that is. And they have really low infiltration rates, and the U values are really low, which makes them, a very good fit for the project. The next thing that we looked at was indoor air quality. The challenge today is that once you make your building really tight, people inside it do not have fresh air to breathe anymore because there's no air exchange. And to really do that, you put a gigantic fan basically. But what this fan basically does, it's called an energy recovery ventilator system. And what it basically does is that it exhausts the hot air outside, brings in cold air, but conditions it at the same time before bringing it into the building, so that you're not bringing in cold air and reheating it all over again. So that helps. And the last thing we did was look at renewable energy. So different renewable energy options were looked at, but solar panels make the most sense. The payback is really good. The cost of solar panels has been dropping over the past several years. What we discovered was that the payback for solar panels was 11 years on this project. There are a lot of rebates available through the state of New Hampshire that we're going to take advantage of. In addition, being an affordable housing project, it is really easy for us to leverage renewable energy tax credits, and so we're going to do that as well. All of these things combined basically made the building really good. So now let's talk a little bit about dollars. What all these energy efficiency upgrades mean is that my operating expenses for my building are now really low. So I can have a positive cash flow for at least 15 years, if not longer, which helps. The building will also remain affordable for about 99 years, which is the life of a building, which is pretty awesome. And at the same time, we are creating minimal impact to the environment because we are suddenly using less energy. So circling back to the triple bottom line, I do think that this building does create minimal impact to the environment. It also creates equitable jobs for people like me, and also fulfills a huge need in the community, and it will remain affordable and sustainable financially for a long period of time. So what does all this mean? According to the EPA, energy efficient buildings use 35% less energy than usual buildings. Now, I tried to see, okay, what does that really mean? So I tried to do the math around how much energy residential buildings use within the United States. And what if all these residential buildings suddenly become energy efficient? And what I found was that this could result in a savings of 951 gigawatt hours, which is the amount of energy used to heat and cool 16 billion homes, which I found was pretty amazing. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.